Hey everyone, Rabbit Hedgehog here, and we want to thank our sponsors before the start of this video. Shout out to Law Tigers out there riding with us right now, but standing with us in the event of an accident. Need custom racing leathers or gear for the everyday ride? AGVSportUSA is here for that, and based out of Argyle, Texas, and serving riders nationwide. Also, we want to thank Doug Crawford, an independent AMSOIL dealer, for providing us with the fluids that keep our machines running well on into the future. Visit the description below for web links and contact details to get in touch with them today.
Hello and welcome to the Rabbit Hedgehog YouTube channel, your number one place for motorcycle reviews while you're doing a number two. And today we're going to be talking about another used motorcycle that we have here. This one here is the 2025 Kawasaki Vulcan S 650 Cafe. Now the Vulcan S has been with us for 10 years now. As of the 2025 model year, it came out in 2015. And it was the first motorcycle to introduce the ErgoFit system. And the ErgoFit, what it was, is whenever you purchased the motorcycle, you had your option of different handlebars and of different foot positions and of different seat. No cost to you to change everything. They would either put it in extended reach, a middle reach, or reduced reach, or combinations thereof. That way you can have extended reach handlebars and a reduced reach seat or something like that to fit you as a rider. It's a very great idea. Very great idea. I've always loved that idea, actually. And for a beginning motorcyclist, this is a very good one to start with. It's powered by the liquid-cooled 650cc Kawasaki Ninja engine. Just tuned a little bit differently for lower end torque and everything. You have a monoshock in the rear that you can see is preload adjustable. Traditional forks in the front, not adjustable. ABS package on this one. You can see the tonal ring, but if you just need to know, it's right there too. But you see tonal rings front and rear. So that's how you know that there is ABS on this. These are chain-driven motorcycles, sub 500 pounders. And in reality, pretty cool looking motorcycle. We actually had one of these in our stable for a while, and I really thought highly of it. Yes, it lost in a comparison to a Honda Rebel 500. That was just because the Rebel 500 was a little bit more approachable for brand new riders and everything, and I was doing that as a perspective of a brand new rider. But is the Vulcan S still a good motorcycle? I believe it absolutely is. And we're going to talk about that on our test ride. How well has it aged over these 10 years? So before we get on this ride, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, AGVSportUSA, for providing the gear for our team, keeping us safe and sound while we're on the road. Also want to thank Law Tigers of Oklahoma out there right now, part of our community. But if you have any questions or concerns regarding motorcycle law or problems with insurance companies during an accident, give them a call. They'll go to bat for you. And also Doug Crawford in USA Synthetics and his AMSOIL distribution for protecting the internals of our engines and keeping those running well. Alrighty, let's hop up on this thing. And I'll talk about a few things here. Alright, this is actually going to be the first one I've ever ridden with a windscreen. So this one only has 1,971 miles on it. You see the fuel gauge on the bottom. Neutral indication, that's something ours didn't have. We didn't have the actual gear counter yet. And then to go through, you can press here. You got trip A, trip B, miles per gallon average, and also live MPG. And your current fuel range, all that good stuff. ABS sensors, ready. Service engine light, of course we're not running yet. Neutral indication, bright selection, turn signals. And low fuel warning lights, all the good stuff there. Warning light there. Go ahead and start it up, that way it will take that out. Digital on the speedometer. There's a clock over here as well. We also have a tachometer at the top. Since we just started out, Kawasaki's are known to have that high idle circuit. So it's going to high idle for a second. We'll let her warm up. Then we got adjustable levers for both the brake and the clutch. Again, part of that ergo fit. Engine cutoff switch, starter, hazard lights. You have your brights, turn signal, and horn. And you have a flash to pass trigger on the back side. Ignition key is here. Some nice features when it comes to being a friendly bike to newbie riders. These very large bar ends that help protect and hold the bike up if you have a tip over. All 4 of your turn signals actually have that flexibility in them, and therefore if something happens, more than likely they won't break. Heavy duty pegs. I mean, look how thick those are and how rubber encoded they are. And just in case you fall over, it's there to help. There are other accessories that you can tie on there that will help keep it as well. So very beginner friendly bike, very low to the ground as well. You can see my knee is sharply bent, flat foot to the ground on both sides of this motorcycle. It's hard to see at the same time, but very low to the ground, very approachable, very lightweight. We have a 6-speed transmission, and the friction zone is exactly a 3. It's kind of where you want that. Very predictable. One thing I've always loved about Kawasaki is how linear their clutch pulls are. Very easy clutch pulls at that. The other thing about them, how easy it is to get into neutral, because they're the only company that still puts little ball bearings in it that if the bike isn't in motion, the ball bearing falls into place and it doesn't allow the transmission to keep going in from between first and second. It makes it easier to get into neutral. It's a positive neutral finder. What a novel concept. That's also great for folks who are brand new riders so they don't sit there and get frustrated trying to find neutral. One thing I've always liked about the Vulcan S is just how potent this little engine is. Right now we're riding around town, we're in 3rd gear, roughly 25 to 28 miles an hour, and we're producing about 3,200 RPM out of the engine. To a red line, I might add, of 9,500. There's plenty of rev left to go in this bad boy. Very, very lightweight. You can see that high idle is now over, so we're right at 1,000 RPM just sitting and idling instead of around 21 as earlier, because it has warmed up and now it's just chugging along nice and happily. Now, I believe this one might be in a mix of mid and reduced. Just from sitting on it, it kind of feels a little tight for me, but funny enough, look at my knees. They're not above the tank whatsoever. They're down in line, and then they come straight down to the foot pegs with a slight bend forward. So it's forward of mid on the Cafe Racer, but that's in the exact same position as the stock bike. So the non-Cafe version is also the same. There's not really much between the two of them on how they look, except for a little cowling, and that's literally the difference. Now the cowling's been replaced on this one with a windscreen. And I could not find a place for these mirrors just yet, but that's on me, not it. Turning in with it grips the road just fine. Very light on its feet, but the thing is this thing has huge handlebars for as small as it is. Going over this broken point here, there's a little bit of a bounce there that almost took me off the seat, but not quite. One of these things about being a smaller bike, I don't always expect the suspension to be able to handle A, my weight, which is about 195 pounds, and B, everything, because it's a cheaper entry-level bike. It's not designed to be the end-all, be-all, most comfortable thing in the world. It's designed to get people on motorcycles and to ride and enjoy. Very one-footable bike, as you can see. Fits my ginormous 14 feet. People not looking up at the right time. All the good stuff happening as normal. One thing about this 6-speed transmission, it is very compliant and very just spot on. Going to keep it in 4th gear for the moment, so that way we can run up to speed, which this thing does very well. Thing punches well above its weight class. Jump into 5th gear there. The eco sign is now on, and I'm doing 66 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour at around 5,600 RPM. If I go to 6th gear, that takes us down to around 4,900 RPM, 48 to 49. So it is cruising right along just fine at highway speeds. Do you get a little bit of push on this motorcycle in the wind? Yes, you do, because it is a little bit lightweight. And also some of it is the tire tread design kind of follows the rain grooves a little bit more than I would prefer, but that's more of a tire issue. You flip those tires out to a different style, and that does go away, but the cruiser type tires that they put on this one and our rain grooves do kind of get a little bit of a sink together, and you can feel it kind of wandering a little bit here and there. And like I said, the wind is also pushing a little bit on me and moving the bike around because it's pretty lightweight. Like I said, it's still 500 pounds. And I'll put all detailed specifications in the comments or description below. But the thing is, when this thing came out in 2015, it was a breath of fresh air. The Vulcan 500 and some of the other bikes that this one replaces were kind of dogs. They weren't really great motorcycles. They were okay. But the Vulcan 500 had those big old buckhorn bars, and I remember riding those in MSF and doing training with them, and because of that, if I turned too hard, I would put that bar right to my knee because they were just too low, too buckhorn to do very tight maneuvering with, and it was not the most fun motorcycle. And the engine was not exactly potent. It wasn't fast. So this thing comes online, like I said, 2015, and my gosh, what a breath of fresh air. I mean, this thing, like I said, we're holding highway speed. We're barely doing 5,000 RPM or a little less. And we can just sit there and pull the throttle in, and we're already up 10 miles an hour in a very short amount of time. Is it the fastest? No. You do need a downshift, get in that power band because it likes to scream a little bit more. And once you do that, it'll absolutely take off. So again, it will hold speed with the rest of highway speed, and it will give you a little bit of dash power. But because of the nature of this engine coming out of the Ninja 650, it wants to be a little bit more rev happy, which is fine. That's how this is designed. Parallel twins are not as torquey as a V-twin. So I expect a little bit more play out of a parallel twin. The vibrations and everything, you do get a very particular buzz throughout the bike. It's a very fine buzz that you can feel through the foot pegs up into the handlebars. It does not translate really into the mirrors and you can see that GMC terrain coming at you. You can see a Toyota Sienna minivan a couple of lanes away. You got good visibility. I don't even have any elbows or shoulders in the way, but I can see that Honda Pilot I just passed, you know, or Passport, whichever one that is. It looks so similar anymore. But you can see all that, but you do get a fine buzz in the hands and the feet for sure, even at this speed. But overall, it's smooth. And the thing is like I said, I like connections to the machine like that. And this one has a character to it that makes you know that you are riding something that's actually fun. Like I said, these big wide handlebars give you such great leverage that it turns very well. That's something you do not need to worry about is turning. They're nice and high up. You can turn lock to lock just fine. This thing is a dream in U-turns and a dream in tight space maneuvering because it is balanced. Very well balanced. They have the exhaust tucked kind of under the motorcycle and down as far as they can, and that way it puts it toward the center of gravity better instead of hanging off the side and heavy right there. It gives that balance to this bike. The drive mechanism, of course, is on the left-hand side as well to help counterbalance the weight of the exhaust and stuff on the right. So it's really well thought out when you think about it. The suspension overall is pretty decent. We know these are some broken roads. I've been on some bikes and you can definitely see some bouncing and stuff. But everything that they have done with this bike is very adequate. The back spring I probably need to put a little bit more preload into, and it still will be a little bit bouncy because of my weight, and I will probably bottom it out, even with some better preload. But note, it doesn't really bother it too much. It's not so softly sprung that it wallows in a turn, and it's not so tightly sprung that it throws you off on every bump. But it simply holds the lines pretty decently with the suspension and the stability. Like I said, the wind will cause you to move a little bit, and the tire tread also works to that as well. I have to say the actual windscreen on this is pretty decent. It comes up to around the top of my nose. Not quite eye level. Okay, maybe the bottom of my nose. Now I need to stop slouching, you know. But if I'm sitting up, do I get some buffet at the top of the helmet? Absolutely, but I don't get anything at the chin level into the skirt of the helmet, so I don't get that bobblehead effect. I actually get a nice cushion of pretty clean air from my head, and it doesn't move around, so I actually like this windscreen pretty nice. One thing about these parallel twins is the engine braking on these are phenomenal. Of course, we do have a slipper assisted clutch on this one as well, and a slipper assist will allow the bike to downshift harshly and not necessarily need a throttle blip to match. I always do. That way that's just me though. But even if you forget it, it won't lock up the rear wheel because you do have that slipper assist on the back, and that way you can come down from speed, do the engine braking, learn that throttle blip as you go, and get better as you ride this one because it's going to be forgiving. And that's the thing about beginner bikes. Are they very forgiving or are they a little bit harsh? And I think that's another reason why I kind of gave a little bit more to the Honda 500 at the time, is because it was an extremely forgiving bike. And this one you had to pay a little bit more attention because the power that it has is shocking. You know, for such a small engine, this bike has great power. And we'll get to an indicated, I think the fastest I ever got ours indicated was around 120 miles an hour. Now, granted, that's indicated, that's not true. It's probably more like 112 to 13. But that's still for 650 booking it. And it gets there pretty quick too. Just a fun bike to have. And I miss it, man. I actually miss this bike. That was a pretty good bump there, and I still didn't quite come off the seat. It tried to again, but like I said, that might work out with preload because it's so close. But I do remember the one we had when I did preload it. Yeah, I could still leave the seat on certain bumps. We definitely got those here in Oklahoma. But man, I love being back on this thing because it's just a comfortable place to be. It's a nice around town motorcycle and beginner motorcycle, and in reality, most people would find it comfortable enough and put some bags on it, make it a light tourer, to take this around some medium range touring. The brakes on this thing are nice, they're crisp, they modulate nicely, both front and rear. But yeah, it's really easy to balance when you're in traffic. Everything's very responsive on it. The fueling on it is fantastic as well. Very linear. As I'm running it through a little bit faster. Yeah, it's pretty happy around town, even in fourth gear right now at 40 miles an hour. It's still about 4,100, 42. I got the eco light back on. So it says I'm riding it happily, but you do feel a little bit more buzz at that point. Drop it into fifth gear there, and the buzz goes away, but still there. It's not as pronounced, I'll put it that way. So definitely pick up that buzz more over the 4,000 RPM range to higher. But for the most part, again, it's not bad at all. Oop. It just wanders up to 50 miles an hour without a problem. Like I said, I'm in fifth gear. I'm doing it again. It's such an easy going motorcycle, but it has all that power on reserve. It's kind of ridiculous. You would just not expect that from this kind of an engine, and as small as the bike feels, you know? Now we can do 50. We're in the actual zone, and it's happy. Still in fifth gear, about 4,500 RPM now. Again, like I said, these bars are so much better than the original Vulcan 500. Just the way they feel and the way they control the motorcycle, so much leverage. And that is a good thing for a brand new rider to have, is that kind of feel and positive feel from their motorcycle. Like I said, downshifts are just so crisp on this thing. It's so fun to ride. It is like riding a little Ninja 650. Now this one's stock, so the sound is very silent, but you can hear it has pretty much the same sound as a Ninja. So put a Tosh exhaust on it, or an Acro, or something hilarious to make people go, what is, oh, that's a cruiser? You know, that's kind of the funny part. Just don't expect this to make that kind of noise. Right now in fourth gear, back up almost 50 miles an hour, about 4,500 RPM again. But the nice thing is I can actually tell exactly how fast I'm going into RPM range by the feel and rise and fall of the engine. You know, except if I'm in fifth gear and holding it, then it does wander a little bit more, because like I said, those vibes don't really hit till around 4. And in fifth gear at 50 miles an hour, you're right at that threshold, so you start to feel them, and that's when you realize you're getting into the 50 range instead of the 45. So that's how I'm telling that I'm doing that little wandering up to speed. I'm doing this all with engine braking. As you can see, just as long as you got your head up, man, it's so easy to talk to the bike and tell it what you want, and it's perfectly fine with accepting that. Again, as you can see, as soon as I let off, it's about 50 miles an hour almost every time, because that's when I'm feeling that point that I want to either go to 6th or I'm going a little too fast for what I'm doing. So that's the thing. I like a bike that communicates that way, and this does a very good job at doing that. I had to slow her down here. All right, so coming back up to the interstate. Some brakes here. People didn't want to move yet. Staying in third at 44 is about 5,500 RPM. Drop her to second. Lean angles, yeah, pretty much was dragging my heel there on that turn. So not the most sporting angle, but for a cruiser, not bad at all. Whoop, already in the 70s. But yeah, this bike is the reason why it's remained relevant for 10 years without hardly a change. I like the things that they've done since 2015 by adding the gear counter and some other things on there as well. Good choices. That way a beginner rider has a way to count, know what they're doing, and get an idea of what feel and number looks like. That's a positive thing in the right direction for sure. But the engine has always been spot on. The fueling has always been spot on. The rideability of this motorcycle is so approachable and just so comfortable too. It is an easy motorcycle to get along with, and it listens to your inputs very nicely. And it's very easy to modulate as well, so you know what you're doing. You can press on the rear brake and you know exactly how much you are toward thruster of braking, and you can actually modulate that to the point where you know where the ABS module is going to kick in. Same with the front brake. Very nice, very bitey, despite being a single disc up front. But you know exactly what you're doing with it, and you know exactly the threshold of it, because it talks to you the right way. That's what I love about this thing. And that's why it's still around, because it's darn near perfect. So well balanced. So easy going. just a great motorcycle to be on. Hit that big bump there, and as you can see, it took it just fine. Traditional fork and all. But if you are looking for a companion motorcycle to your giant tourer in your garage, or if you're looking for a new motorcycle to get into the sport, this bike is perfect for either one of those. Maintenance is simple on it. It's reliable as a hammer. It's built with new riders in mind, and it's built for all riders in mind. Because I'm pretty sure you can find a way to mix and match everything with all these that have been sold for 10 years to find the right ergo fit for you too. Now for like the pegs and stuff, they have a way to swivel and some other things with the same pegs. But finding the bars and everything are probably going to be really easy. Since there's no internal wiring, very simple swap with simple tools and a little bit of know-how. And seats are the same way. So not too hard to switch everything out and make it your own. And that's what's just freaking cool about it. It's designed for everybody, and it's so approachable. And I have no idea why everybody's going so much faster than me. I mean, I'm already doing 5 over here, guys. Where'd everybody go? As everybody else is catching back up to me. This is kind of insane. This is not your own personal raceway, folks. And that's the thing. Ride within your limit and ride the way you want to ride. Be aware of what everybody else is doing. Keep your head and eyes up and head on a swivel. That's going to be my lesson of the day. That way, you ride safe and all is well. And this is a perfect platform to be on. Like I said, the mirrors are nice and visible. I can see everything behind me that I need to. I know what's happening. I know who's coming. The ergonomics are perfect. I like the way everything is. On the switch cubes, including the little flash pass on the back. I always like that, so that way you don't have to toggle the switch. All you got to do is flicker. You don't have to worry about it accidentally staying on if you flicker at somebody. The fact that you can kind of work on everything to make it your own in terms of the ergonomic fit, with the levers being adjustable, the handlebars, you have options to find and make them work for you. The pegs, you have options to move around and make them work for you. The seats, you have options to flip out. Probably for a relatively decent amount of price too. Probably not too expensive at all. If you're buying the used market. Again, the new market, they'll do that at the dealership for you. But if you can find one like this one, again, 6 foot tall, 32-inch inseam, 195 pounds, this one fits me all right. It actually fits me a little bit better than the one that we had, because that one was in full reduced reach for my 5'2" and 3/4 inch wife. She needed that closeness. So for me to ride it, it was really cramped. But this one, man, this is just nice. I can handle this. Alrighty. Pull back into the shop here. Pull back to this here, and we'll land it. Like I said, you can see, and I'll put my knee up there. I have all that room in the world, both sides. Don't have to worry about it. Like I said, the leverage is nice. So to do our tight space maneuvering, you can see pretty tight space on that. Clutch adjustment, not bad. There we go. Well, there you go. About a lane of turnaround. So really good for those tight maneuvering spaces and everything. So if you're looking for a fantastic first motorcycle, then I highly recommend finding a Vulcan S, because these things are freaking awesome, and they still are 10 years later. Fun to ride, comfortable, and good gas mileage, approachable, just everything you want a motorcycle to be. So at any rate, this is the Rabbit Hedgehog, and if you have any questions about the 2025 Vulcan S 650, please leave them in the comments below. I'll also post a link to this bike's sale page, as long as that link is available. It is for sale at Indian Motorcycle of Oklahoma City. So at any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.